Thank you very much, Chrissy, for having me. Thank you, OneKind, for this great, amazing opportunity to share my experience on biodiversity conservation, case study of small mammals. It's in Nigeria or in developing nations, it's no longer used that so much conservation effort or so much conservation perspective have been channeled towards large animals and neglecting the smaller ones. But we are incredibly thrilled that so much emphasis and so much conservation awareness have been taken to protect these small mammals. And we'll be discussing pangolins and birds because they are so special, small mammals. Not only because of their threat towards their survival, but as well, they have a unique and peculiar features. Like, as we know, the pangolin is the only mammal that has scale, and bird is the only mammal that can fly. Quite an amazing opportunity for me to discuss with you. The small mammal is being sponsored by the Nigerian Tropical Biology Association in Nigeria, Small Mammals, and the Pangolino. So the Nigerian biodiversity. Nigeria is so much blessed and rich in terms of biodiversity. It has so much vegetation. It has so much small mammals. It has enormous biodiversity. Nigeria has about 12 terrestrial ecoregions, making Nigeria the most ecological diverse country in West Africa. So Nigeria is so blessed. It's quite unique. It has so much variation of biodiversity. According to a report by the Forestry Management Evaluation and Coordination Unit, they said in 1996, they gave a report that Nigeria has more than 1,340 species of animals. That's quite amazing. And they also gave a report of 200, out of these animals, 274 are mammals, including the pangolin and the bird. We have, and the bat, we have approximately 860 birds, and we have different species in Nigeria. So you could see the picture. This is an aerial view of the Omo forest, one of the forests in Nigeria, one of the amazing forests in Nigeria. So like I said, it has like 12 terrestrial ecoregions, and it's one of the 25 biodiversity hotspots in the world because of its endemic species. So let's start with pangolin. How well do we know pangolin? I'm not stating this question for everyone listening, but just so you can measure at the end of the presentation, you could have something to take home and say, oh, yeah, I know something about pangolins. This is a photo created by the African Pangolin Working Group. Quite an amazing picture. You can see how unique this species is. So some of the features of this species, as you can see, it's usually found in the tropical regions of Asia and Africa. It looks scaly because of it has the scaly, it's full of scales. It's covered in large keratin scales as well. And it mostly feeds on insects, making it an insectivorous species. So these are just some of the things we know about pangolin, because there are a lot of research ongoing trying to study the behavioral ecology of pangolin as well. So pangolin, according to the IUCN, it's critically endangered, but this is not all for all the pangolins. I'll be explaining this later on as we proceed. So pangolins can only be found in 2 continents. It can be found only in Asia and Africa. So we have 8 species of pangolins worldwide, 4 species are in Asia and 4 in Africa. And Nigeria is so blessed to have these 4 species. So you could see the geographical location of pangolins, 4 in Asia and 4 in Africa. We have the white-bellied pangolin in Africa. We have the giant pangolin, the black-bellied pangolin, and the ground pangolin as well. So like I said earlier, when IUCN categorized the critically endangered species, it's just for 2 species found in the Asia. However, the 4 species in Africa are vulnerable. They're not critically endangered, but we are raising awareness not to reach that endangered level, as we see in the IUCN red list criteria. So these are the 4 species that we can find in Africa, like I said, and they're distinct based on their belly, the color of their belly, and some other features, their scale, and their tail as well. So poaching and illegal trade in Nigeria, I picked a picture from the Education for Nature showing the illegal trade of pangolins and what is currently going on with pangolins. Pangolin is currently the highest trafficked mammal in the world. The traffic level is so high, it's very, very high to the extent that it's becoming very scarce and very rare to get, even in Nigeria. This is a picture of a lady in the popular Ondo market in Nigeria. It's an open market where people trade pangolin. This is a man standing in the road of Cross River State, southern eastern Nigeria, selling pangolins. It's an open trade as well. And we can see what is happening to the pangolin. This is sourced by the African Pangolin Working Group. We can see what's happening to the pangolin. So when they capture this pangolin, set it on fire, dry it, and sell it as bushmeat, where people feed on. So seizure, a source by a non-governmental organization, according to the wildlife trade, it's a wildlife trade monitoring network. If we could see the statistics from 2011 to 2004 to 2014, we have little or no pangolin that were seized, probably due to reason because the data have not been collected by then. But we could see a sharp increase from 2015. And this is a data showing a number of seizures from Nigeria compared to other African countries. So from 2016, if you look critically from 2016 to 2018, the number drastically increased and making pangolin 2/3 of all the 3/4 of the total weight seized in Africa. 2/3 of that number is from Nigeria. And likewise, the total weight in metric tons as well. And this is purely their skills. So the pangolin price per kilogram, a source from CNN, from Traffic, and from the International Union of Conservation of Nature, hunters per kilogram of pangolins worth $22.5. So we see the sharp increase because it has to transmit from one hand to another. We are seeing a sharp increase of pangolin prices. The local hunters usually don't have access to the big wings that get these pangolins. So as business, it passes from one hand to another, thereby increasing in number or in the amount that it has. Pangolin is a very lucrative meal in Asia. In fact, it's regarded as one of the most expensive meals. It's only meant for the elite in Asia. They said pangolin, a popular phrase said, if you don't have money, you can't afford pangolin because it's quite expensive. We can see a restaurant are selling pangolin as high as $350. That's quite huge. This is from the seizure. We could see this is the Nigerian Customs Services. The Nigerian Customs Services, where they seized a staggering ton of about 9.5 ton shipment of poached pangolin scales. This is in Lagos, in southwest Nigeria. And these pangolins equate to, we could see how small the pangolins are. So if you could get a pangolins worth 9.5 tons, just imagine the number of pangolins you're going to poach or you're going to hunt in order to get such a high number. So the number equates to about 9,500 pangolins. That's so sad. About 9,500 pangolins before you could get a weight worth 9.5 tons. We could actually see on the other hand, though this is not in Nigeria's seizure, it's actually in Singapore. But the pangolin scales that were seized by Singapore Custom and National Park Board, it was last year, just last year, April 8, 2019. The pangolin scale, that's the highest seizure ever in the world, and that weighs about 14 tons of scales. And that 14 tons, we could see it's approximately, it's made up of 475 bags, and it's worth $77 million. That's the worth of 14 tons of pangolin. So it's business because the demand is so high. And one of the things that even increased the demand is because the pangolins in Asia, for example, are critically endangered. So you find it very hard to have access to those pangolins. One, their law, aside the law, the animals are very rare to get, and additionally, you find it very hard to find them. So all the attention are towards Africa, particularly the Western Africa and Nigeria. So when you go in Ghana, in Nigeria, and Uganda, and all these places, they are harvesting pangolin because that's where you can easily get it and transport it and be business as usual. And this is so sad. But kudos to our custom services and our conservation awareness that's currently going on, where we're strengthening our institution to see, if not because of the effort, we wouldn't have captured, the Nigerian custom wouldn't have captured these pangolins, the 9.5 ton scale of pangolins, as you can see. So efforts are being put in place to make sure that they stop harvesting or they stop the traffic of pangolins. And I'll explain it more in details. So I have a short clip. I'll just be playing just to summarize what pangolin is and the traffic level. Just a short clip.
Scaly and shy, the pangolin is the world's most trafficked mammal. Prized in Asia for its use in medicine, Nigeria has become a main hub for the illegal trade of the unique creature. Law enforcement officials, NGOs and wildlife experts say the West African country's borders, lax law enforcement, widespread corruption and ports have helped criminal networks corner most of the African trade in pangolins. This year alone, Hong Kong and Singapore have intercepted 3 huge shipments of pangolin scales weighing a combined 33.9 tonnes and worth more than $100 million, all from Nigeria.
I've heard about 8,000 metric tons of pangolin that was seized at a time here in Nigeria. Here in Nigeria. But sometimes Nigeria is just a point of convergence.
Demand for African pangolins in countries including China and Vietnam has been growing as the number of Asian pangolins has dwindled over the years to the point where 2 of the 4 Asian species are now on the critically endangered list. In the thick forests of southwestern Nigeria, the effect of the Asian trade is being felt. For generations, families have hunted, traded, and made medicine from the mammal.
We used to hunt pangolin here. There used to be lots of animals in this forest, but they're scarce now. It's only once in a while that we see them.
All 4 African species of pangolin were classed as vulnerable by the International Union for Conservation of Nature when commercial trade was banned in 2016. And some experts say the animal could be extinct in 20 years. Other African countries known for pangolin trafficking, such as Kenya, South Africa, Tanzania and Uganda, all say they have clamped down on the illicit trade as well, pushing pangolin traffickers to focus their efforts on Nigeria.
So that was just a summary of what's going on, how the Asian pangolins are being critically endangered, and focuses are being going towards Africa and trafficking these mammals to Asia. And thanks to the Nigerian custom services for their efforts. So when we ask, why are they trafficking the pangolins? What are they used for? What are their uses? Why is it so high? So some of the sources I got, as you can see, pangolin is it's used in making the armor vest because of its keratin natures and the scale. It's because it's so hard. It's very, very, very hard. So you can't find it easily to penetrate. So say it's called a bulletproof vest. So additionally, pangolin is used for the Chinese traditional medicine. So it's assumed that pangolin is used to cure all sorts of ailments and all sorts of diseases as well. So the animal itself, even though it's eaten as meat, like I stated earlier, and is used as bush meat to some African countries, but a greater danger arises from the belief that the scales have medicinal values. So fresh scales, they don't use the fresh scales. What they do is when they harvest them, they dry these scales. When they dry these scales, they mix them with some sort of chemicals, and they use them in treating ailments. And among this excessive ailment, you find out something like arthritis. It's even believed that they use the pangolin to cure. It's just a perception anyway, that they use the pangolin to scare devils away or something in terms of witches, and it's so creepy. It's very, very creepy. But it's believed to solve a lot, even reproductive impairment in both men and women. So a lot of things. So we can see how sad the pangolins are, how they harvest them for meal, and a lot, and what's happening with them. So that's for pangolins. We could see how high they are being trafficked. We could see what's really going on with them. We could see the number of seizures. We could see how far the effort being put in place, and a lot of things. So bats, let me just say a little bit about bats. But the same thing suffers the same fate with pangolins as well in Africa. The fate, the perception fate, the fate. It's, even though Nigeria is blessed to have so much diverse diversity of birds, Nigeria alone has more than 90 species of birds. And current data that is coming up from research has shown that Nigeria has approximately will have about 100 species of birds coming up. So the perception of bird, this is just a group of birds, a group of bats that is being harvested, is being hunted. It's being hunted for the bushmeat as well. So bat itself, because of the amazing ecological diversity which I stated about Nigeria, it inhabits a lot of bat species. But one good thing about the bat species is that the bat species is not critically endangered, nor is it currently endangered. So we have amazing research ongoing on that I'll be speaking later on. So 167 bat species around the world has shown that the highest threat to this bird is hunting rather. So because of the hunting for bushmeat, they are hunting for medicinal purposes. The bird poaching has really increased. So conservation issues in Nigeria. So I will not be speaking more about the behavioral ecology of this bird. I will not be speaking more about, because research are quite ongoing on, and conservation is a new discipline in Nigeria. And we are very grateful that awareness has been created and research are being ongoing to see how to conserve this species. So most of the conservation issues that is ravaging pangolin is different from the conservation issues that is ravaging birds. However, I've tried to incorporate this into one body just to give a general view or a general perspective of most of the conservation issues threatening small mammals, both pangolins and birds. So one thing is perception on natural resources. Let me tell you a little bit story. While growing up in the rural community in southeastern Nigeria, my grandmom tells me that Nigeria is so blessed to have a lot of things, so that therefore we should harvest all natural resources. So I grew up with this notion that natural resources is a gift from God, and therefore I should harvest it as much as I can. So this notion is currently ongoing, and I grew up with this notion until I started asking questions about why some of these species are being rare to find. Because the pangolins and some of these species that we usually harvest, at some point we can't find them any longer, and we ask questions about what's really going on with them. So until I developed that curiosity, that was when I started learning about nature-based causes. So it's perception, mindset. The perception additionally to pangolins, because people believe that, oh, pangolins were going to, it solves a lot of ailments, or birds solve a lot of ailments. So let's harvest them, let's use them for traditional medicine. So additionally is perspective. We don't believe that it's going to finish one day. Secondly is the socio-economic state of the nation. Nigeria is categorized as a low and middle income country. And so most of the economic state is not compared to the developing nations. So the socio-economic state of the people as well is quite low. As a matter of fact, last year, the Financial Inclusion Conference organized by the Enhancing Financial Innovation, I think it's in a collaboration of the UK Aid and the Gates Foundation. They found out that 100 million Nigerians earn less than 700 naira. That's our currency, naira. Converting naira to dollars, this is less than $2. Less than $2. So this socioeconomic state of the man living in his home and earning less than $2, and as you can see, the price of pangolin per kilogram, as we saw in our earlier slide, if someone can sit in his home and earn less than $2 and has the opportunity to earn $22.5 just per kilo, what do you think is going to happen? So the socioeconomic state of the rural dwellers and most Nigerians as well, it's a factor that also promotes the conservative use of this pangolin. So the economic value and the local trade. Like I said earlier, pangolin it's very, very expensive. So if someone can sell a kilo of pangolins and have, let's say, and have $30, and he will just go for it because demand is so high. People are coming from the developing nation. People are doing business. People are coming, and the demand is high. The person is going to just go and get them and start selling them as well. So the economic value plays a critical role in conservation issues. Another thing is conservation awareness. Conservation is a new discipline in Nigeria, compared to other disciplines like the medicine, the engineering, aviation, and the rest of them. So it's new. People really don't know what's going on with this species. Like I said, perception, and they're not aware that this is going on. However, in the urban areas, awareness are ongoing. Most of the people in urban areas are aware that this is a no-go area. We really can't continue to harvest this species. At least at some point, we need to, because of the awareness, it growing at some point, they begin to, oh no, we can't really go. But however, the larger population are not in the urban areas. The larger population are in the rural areas. And how can we take this information to the rural areas? How can we tell them that this species is vulnerable, that this species, if you continue to hunt this species, it will go and it will be endangered. And who knows, maybe in the next 10 years, 20 years, it's going to go extinct. So awareness plays a critical role as well. Another thing is the non-enforcement of our existing law. The non-enforcement of our existing law, Nigeria has an amazing law towards protection of biodiversity, no doubt about that. But the issue is enforcement. Creating law is one thing, but implementing the law is another thing altogether. So we could see that despite the law that are ongoing about trafficking these animals, in the rural community, up to today, up to now, if you go to the rural community and you want to get this species, if you talk to 1 or 2 hunters, they'll get it for you. That's because they are not aware that this is the consequences, or they're not aware. So we need to strengthen our enforcement. We need to strengthen our law. We need to strengthen our law institutions and enforce it on people. Not by force, no, not really by force, but to create this awareness, to tell them the dangers that is going to lead if this species continue to be harvested. Another thing is research. Like I said at the beginning of the presentation, most of these species, we don't know a lot about them, especially or particularly their behavioral ecology. So we need to study, like we know the pangolin is an insectivorous bird, but we need to, if the diet is insectivorous, so it eats insects. And research shows that one pangolin can eat approximately 70 million of insects annually, just one pangolin. So we need to know what preference of insects is it eating. We need to know a lot of things about the diet. We need to know its behavioral ecology. So many things are ongoing. We need to also study the distribution of the pangolins in Nigeria. Now, what we know is, oh, we can find pangolins here, we can find pangolins there, but we need to develop this systematic approach to know the distribution of this pangolin in Nigeria, where we can get them, where we cannot get them. Likewise, bats as well. So there are a lot of things to do with this species. There are a lot of things to study. There are a lot of things to do with them in Nigeria. So the big question is, what are we doing? What we're doing towards protecting this species is a very critical question to ask. So I'm opportune to interact and to be affiliated to a lot of people doing amazing things. Apart from the international aid coming to Nigeria and coming to Africa to do a lot of things to raise awareness, like the International Union of Conservation of Nature, the Wildlife Conservation Society, a lot of international, the Bat Conservation International, they're all coming to Nigeria to raise this awareness. But within Nigerians, there are a lot of efforts ongoing towards protecting these species. This is Iroro Tanshi, one of my mentors. So she is studying birds, and she is studying the behavioral ecology of this bird, what's really going on with this bird in Nigeria, and raising awareness towards protecting these birds. Iroro identified that one of the factors driving this bird, apart from the habitat loss, the hunting, and the rest of them, is wildfire. Iroro developed a strategic plan to stop the wildfire from the local people, putting on wildfire for hunting and the rest of them. And incredibly, amazingly, her site location that has been experiencing a lot of fire stopped for like 3 years. Iroro, additionally, due to her quest for birds, a few years ago, she discovered the short-tailed bird. So this bird is, for the past 40 years, we thought the bird has gone, at some point we thought the bird is no longer in Nigeria, it has gone extinct, we can't find it in Nigeria any longer. but he really discovered this bird, and because of this awareness and what she's doing, she won a Future for Nature Award in Nigeria, where she's raising a lot of conservationists in protection of birds. So this is very, very amazing, and people are, people are getting to understand the concept about bird conservation. Additionally, this is Charles Emago. Charles Emago is studying pangolin. Charles Emago is a PhD student. He's a PhD student in University of Cambridge. He's also studying the ecology of this bird. So his interest is on the white-bellied pangolin, and to carry out conservation education and outreach among local communities in the Cross River National Park. Charles Emago is currently in Nigeria and doing amazingly, raising awareness towards the protection of birds. And I'm opportune to work with Charles Emago. So Charles Emago also created a platform known as the Conservation Science Communication using Pangolin Arts. So the Pangolin Art is, you go into a competition, you just make an art of pangolin, be it anything. You can bake your cake with pangolin, you can design pangolin, you can do anything you can do with pangolin just to raise awareness. Hashtag on Twitter, raise awareness, go to local communities, organize outreach. She has been organizing a lot of outreach and trying to raise awareness in conservation. The third one that I'm going to specify is the Nigerian Tropical Biology Association, which I'm thrilled to be affiliated with. So currently we are carrying out a biodiversity action plan in Nigeria. This is a nationwide project where we are trying to raise awareness towards conservation. But before we do that, we need to understand in details the perception of people when it comes to biodiversity as well. Like I said, the socioeconomic plays a critical role, whereby we have to collaborate with our government, because if someone don't have access, for example, if someone don't have access to gas, to electricity in the rural community, and he has access to forests where he can get his source of energy, and you're telling him not to harvest these trees for consumption without providing any alternative source for him, it's going to be very, very tough. If we strengthen our institution, not conserve the species, plays a critical ecosystem. We have 8 functions in the ecosystem services. The Pangolin helps in the biochemical cycle as well, because consumption can help in preventing pests. 2 weeks ago, if I use this money to develop alternative sources for these people and allow the pangolins do their job. So like the bat as well, the bat is a good pollinator. It also helps in seed dispersal. So these are amazing ecosystem services that these species protect, and we're doing all we can to protect these species in Nigeria. So I will stop here. If you have a question, you can just send me question. And this is my email. Even after the presentation, you can send me an email if you want to know more about it. You can as well follow Pangolino on Twitter and Facebook, where we are raising awareness towards pangolin. If you are interested in participating in the conservation science art, where you can just draw anything, tag Pangolino, and we could raise awareness towards it. Thank you, IUCN. Thank you, Wildlife Conservation Society. Thank you, OneKind, for what you're doing in Scotland, and thank you for having me. Thank you for listening.
Oh, thank you, Chinedu. That was amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your experience in Nigeria on conservation and the amazing work that's going on to protect pangolins and bats. It sounds like your mentors are amazing people, and what they're doing is fantastic. And yourself as well, Chinedu. It's amazing. Can I just ask, what made you take up an interest in conservation?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Chrissy. So I grew up in a rural community. Where we don't have access to a lot of basic amenities. We don't have access to a lot of things. So as I stated earlier, Nigeria is a low and middle income country. It was quite hard for me. It was quite hard for the family as well. So the perception of the natural resources occurred to me. So most of what we do is to go into the forest. What we do is to go for hunting. By the time we hunt these species, or by the time we cut down trees, we sell, we made a lot of money, doing a lot of things. But at some point in time, we observe or we notice that these species that we usually harvest, we find it very, very difficult to find them. Like it's very rare. The species you can go into the bush and just get these species in less than 8 hours, 9 hours. You've gotten what you want. But at some point you spend days not getting these species. So my curiosity, I started asking questions about my curiosity. My curiosity increased. I started asking questions, nature-based questions about what's really going on with them. And I tend to research a personal research, and I noticed that, oh, there's something called endangered species. There's something called anthropogenic means. There's a lot of things going on with them. So at some point, I later stopped, and I go into nature-based conservation to conserve these species. In fact, the university, my bachelor's degree that I want to attend, from where I was, it's quite far. Like it's very far, but I have to travel miles. Even when my parents kick against it that, no, you don't have to travel just to study ecology. Why not study medicine? Why not study engineering? I said, I want to do something different. In fact, my perception has changed, and I travel long distance, hours on bus just to go. I spend like 12 hours on the road traveling just to acquire the nature-based education. So that was what made me go into nature-based discipline.
Wow, Chinedu, that's absolutely amazing to hear that. It's so encouraging to hear your passion for wildlife and conservation, and I'm sure I speak on behalf of everyone when we all know that you will do amazing things with your work, with your passion like that. We're so grateful to have you speak today here, Chinedu, on pangolins and bats. I won't chat too much longer because we've got some questions in the group, if it's okay for you to answer them. So the first one is from Julio, and Julio is asking, are there any species of pangolin that are considered to have higher quality of meat or scales and are considered easier to find or trap and therefore preferred by poachers?
Yeah. So people prefer the giant pangolin than the white-bellied pangolin, for example, because the giant pangolin is so huge, it's bigger in size. So when you capture the giant pangolin, the giant ground pangolin, you tend to get a larger number of scales than the white-bellied pangolin, which is also little in size. So the attention usually go towards the ground pangolin, although because of the difficulties in getting this pangolin right now, they don't have preference. So whichever one, they just go for it. So long, there's an adage in Africa that said, yeah, half bread is better than none. So instead of not going for the other, just get the other one and just satisfy your curiosity, and just settle down. So, but more emphasis, more attention is going towards the giant ground pangolin because of its size and scales.
That's very concerning, but thank you for sharing, Chinedu. Another question we have here is from Kevin from Humane Wildlife Solutions from last night. And Kevin is asking, are there any active campaigns or organizations in Nigeria who work on the ground to protect the pangolins? And what can be done to protect them from trafficking?
Yeah, like I said, a lot of attention are currently in Nigeria towards protecting pangolin. Like I shared Charles' work. Charles has been sponsored by the Wildlife Conservation Society. He's a research assistant with them, and as well, he secured the Conservation Leadership Program Award. So a lot of interests are really on pangolin. Even the African Pangolin Working Group are also in Nigeria doing a lot of things, going to rural community. But another thing is Nigeria is so large. Our population is approximately 200 million population. And the higher number of this population are in rural communities. So the landmass is so big. So we have to, it's an ongoing process. It will take time before we cover up. But a lot of international organizations are currently in Nigeria and doing a lot of things in about their conservation. But there is no amount of conservation awareness that would be enough. We will keep raising this conservation effort. We still seek partnership towards people that will come to Nigeria to raise awareness towards protecting these pangolins. Additionally, we're also collaborating with our law enforcement agencies like as you can see with the custom services, what they are doing, with also Nigerian Conservation Foundation, what we're doing just to, strengthen our institution against trafficking, so that whenever they are passing the border, whenever they are crossing the border, we could as well entrap them, capture, seize them, and prosecute anybody that is that is facilitating this poaching. Yeah.
That's good to hear, Chinedu. I suppose you've sort of answered Vanessa's question there, who's asking if there are any educational programs that try to address beliefs around traditional medicines in countries where demand for products such as pangolin scales is very high. So sort of programs that are looking at the medicinal and trying debunking that myth.
Yeah. So one of the organizations that Idodo formed was the Small Mammal Conservation in Nigeria, where she's trying to raise awareness about the use of this traditional medicine. And I didn't mention it, but maybe most of us must have seen it in the news just a few weeks ago, that the Chinese government has released pangolin from the list of traditional medicine. This is just 2 weeks ago. Maybe perhaps associated with the COVID-19, some sort of, but it's quite amazing. Like we are happy that they've released this list. So we believe that now that they've released pangolin from the list of traditional medicine in China, the poaching for this pangolin will drastically reduce. Just like when we see what happened to Ebola, at some point in Ebola, we recorded a drastic shift. Like it went down. The hunting for bats drastically goes down. That's because maybe people were like curious, is it associated to Ebola virus? Or I don't want to associate myself with bats any longer. So all these stuffs are coming up. So I'm quite glad that the Chinese government took this bold step. Yeah,
it's amazing. So it's not common knowledge then in Nigeria that there's a connection between, like a medicinal connection between disease and like trafficked animals, or is that something that people know?
No, okay. So yeah, Nigeria use this traditional medicine, but we are trying to shift the notion of this traditional medicine, trying to educate them. In Nigeria, they also believe in traditional medicine. They also believe, like the bat, for example. People believe that there are some people, even before this meeting, I tend to chat my friends up and I was like, what do you think about bat? Some people were saying, oh, they believe it's a good luck to them, that whenever they come in contact with bat, it's good luck charm, that things are going to work for them. While a higher number of people believe that, oh, bat is not good. If you come in contact with bat, it's just a perception. It's just perspective and superstitious belief. So it's like, if I come in contact with bat, something something bad is going to happen to me, because bats are witches, bats are this, a lot of creepy stories about them, and some are using them for traditional medicine as well. So we are trying to, like this, what SmartCon is doing, which I'm affiliated to, we are trying to raise awareness towards telling people, oh, instead of using traditional medicine, this is not good, this is not good, you should find an alternative source for this. So it's something that is ongoing.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Chinedu. It's very interesting. So Deborah is asking, do governments know in countries like Nigeria the importance of having healthy ecosystems? I know you mentioned that the law enforcement have really good laws on ecology and conservation, but do the government support that?
Yeah, we've received an incredible effort from the government. The Nigerian Conservation Foundation is doing amazingly well. We also have our Federal Ministry of Environment. They are particularly interested in knowing in all this. They've raised, like I said, we've developed laws. We've developed laws towards protecting these species. So the thing is just implementing these laws in local communities. But the government are aware of the ecosystem benefit of these species, and a lot of institutions are aware of this benefit, and we've received an incredible support towards protecting these species.
My apologies, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry about that. There's always issues with tech, isn't there? That's amazing to hear, Chinedu. It's great to know that the government are being really supportive of that. Thank you for sharing that. I think we've probably got time for one more question today, although I'm sure we'd all love to sit and listen to this all day because it's so fascinating to hear you talk about this and so great to hear your passion. But we'll take one last question from Vicky. And Vicky is asking a very basic question. And she's asking, what can we do here in Scotland apart from sign petitions?
Oh, Scotland can do a lot of things. So, like I said, there is no amount of conservation awareness that will be enough. We have the issues of the major thing is the conservation awareness and the research. Like I said, I don't want to go into details about the research aspect, the science aspect, because a lot of research are currently ongoing including unpublished data. So, but the focus is research, trying to, if Scotland can, if there are opportunities whereby, Nigerians are going to have, truth is conservation. Like I said, conservation is a new discipline. So if people are going to go into conservation science, if they have opportunity to go into conservation science, open up opportunity to them to have a cutting edge research skills that will enable them to study pangolins. Because having the knowledge of pangolins that is traffic is one thing, but having the necessary skills to study their behavioral ecology is another thing. So you need to have knowledge-based skill in order to understand their behavioral ecology. There are a lot of things that we don't know about birds. I don't want to say this, but Charles shared with me some incredible, amazing things he discovered with the white-bellied pangolins. Though it's an unpublished data, but I'm quite thrilled that it's because he started studying white-bellied pangolin that he observed that there is no paper that recorded those traits or those characteristics of those pangolins, its behavior. It's quite amazing. So by the time he published it, I'll share. So we need a lot of effort. We need a lot of support towards research, having people to come, study conservation science if possible, be it Nigeria or developing nations. Another thing is conservation awareness. If you're looking for if Scotland is looking for partnership to do, because it's a global scale, conservation is so dynamic. What's happening in Nigeria, one way or the other, is happening in Scotland. We can see the instance of what's happening with birds about migration in Nigeria and UK. So at the same time, conservation is a dynamic process. What's wrong in Nigeria is typically going to affect UK one way or the other. So conservation awareness can never be overemphasized. If you're looking for somewhere to just do something about pangolin, you can contact me. We can come up with an idea. There are a lot of things we can do with pangolins.
Amazing. Thank you, Chinedu. Chinedu, what was your email again so I can put it in the chat for anyone that didn't get to save that?
Oh, okay. I'll just send it first.
Thank you, Chinedu.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
So, yeah.
There aren't any UK organisations, are there, that are trying to help pangolins or trying to help communities in Nigeria that are trying to help pangolins?
No, there are actually the conservation leadership program in Cambridge University. They are funding. They are giving grants, a lot of funding, in studying them as well. So the UK aid as well is doing amazingly well in Nigeria towards protecting these species. But like I said, Nigeria is so diverse, is so big. It's so big that we don't know if we can really cover all the aspects just very soon. So it's something we really need. We really need people to come in. We really need people to support. We really need people to collaborate in terms of science, in terms of awareness, the socio-economic support of the people. So it will go a long way.
Absolutely.